Welcome back, everybody, to another episode, a traditional episode with your two co-hosts of a podcast where they talk about triathlon, which is called Talking Triathlon. My name is Tim Ford, and I am joined by none other than the sexiest voice of triathlon himself, James Bale. Jimbo, well done, mate, last week, picking up the slack. Your lazy co-host wanted a holiday, and Jimbo said, "Don't worry, I've got your back, mate." And you took the load. Well done.
There you go, mate. I did indeed.
Oh,
It was
the
good fun.
energy's
It was good fun.
energy's there from the start.
It was good fun having Andrew on to have a chat, a different kind of perspective. When you're talking to a pro athlete and he's come on to co-host an episode, the focus was very much on and
Inside.
from an athlete's angle, insight into, racing tactics, techniques, what he thought was going to be happening. And yeah, it was a really enjoyable chat. I think he did a good job. I think regular contributor, mate.
Yeah, it's an exciting time to be talking about triathlon actually because we are sandwiched between two big events. We had Oceanside 70.3 happen over the weekend. We've got T100 Singapore happening this weekend. There's plenty to discuss this week, so it is exciting, and I think that I like it when we get those athletes on to do the previews or reviews of events because they do have a different insight. Like they're able to really they know what it's like to race amongst those people. They understand the preparation. And again, yeah, I'm an amateur. Yeah, you're an amateur, and we do our racing. But to ever try to, and again, I think this is a flaw that a lot of our listeners are probably aware that some of their mates who take the sport a little too seriously do is thinking that the age group experience of racing, even if you're a competitive age group, is so different to the pro experience. So that's why I do always appreciate when we get to actually talk the nitty gritty of racing, especially an athlete who's not in the race, because they are able to sort of look at it with a sort of elevated satellite view of the whole thing. And yeah, I appreciated Andy filling in for me. How did he go with swearing? Was there as much swearing as if I was on, or did he?
He didn't do much swearing. He said he was going to try and do as much as you, or at least outswear you, but he didn't do much, to be honest. He was very restrained. He's a well brought up young man.
Not like me, not like us, bloody
No,
rough Australians down here dropping F bombs and
no, no, no. He did a good job. I mean, the only thing that annoyed me is his analysis of what was going to happen on the race talked me out of picking the fucking winner on the men's side. Not that he knew he was talking me out of it, but that was what transpired, and so I was gutted, to be honest, that I didn't stick with my gut.
Now, I had this conversation with you because I have a feeling that I picked Lionel. Again, I know you
No,
sort of.
you fucking
I
didn't.
think I might have, mate. I think I might
I'd
have.
have known. I'd have known if you'd picked
Well, who
Lionel
else would
because
I
he
have
was
picked?
he was in the back of my head as my pick. I don't know. I think you probably picked some geezer we'd never heard of.
As if I would do that. As if I was going to pick some unknown
No, I
person.
I think you went with someone like Yellow Gaines or someone like that.
No, I don't think I did. I think I
No.
expected him to. I have a feeling. I think I have a feeling that I might have picked Lionel. I mean,
Thing is, I can't remember which episode it was that
yeah, me
you.
neither.
I went to have a listen the other day when we were having this discussion. I was like, I'll just pop back and I'll fast forward, but I wasn't even sure if it was that episode or that episode. And then I just lost the ability to give a fuck instantly and was like, no, it's too
I'm
much,
I'm
too
sure
much of my time.
somebody will add us on Twitter saying, "Oh, you dickhead, you didn't pick Lionel. How dare you? You hate Lionel."
Yeah.
Where
I don't think you picked Lionel, but let's start that analysis then, because Lionel fucking Sanders, mate, I loved it.
we
I
will.
loved watching that
You,
race transpire.
you're jumping the gun there because I need to give the little.
Have I?
Yeah, if you guys enjoy this podcast and you want to support us, head to patreon.com/talking triathlon. We literally just recorded last month's bonus episode. So if you want to get we gave some thoughts around T100 Miami. We talked about we told some stories about when we were at sub 7, sub 8, and then we talked a little bit about I guess the landscape of sponsorship in the sport. So that's there if you guys want to listen. Again, we had a whole heap sign up this month. So thank you to all of our new patrons. You set up a Strava group, Jimbo, which is going to be, I guess, pretty depressing for you because everybody's going to understand just how little training you actually do compared to me. So yeah, you're going to lose what little respect you had of our patrons even more, mate. So
Have you joined it though? Because
I
I don't
haven't,
think you've joined it. No.
mate.
So there you go.
It's 6:30 in the 6:55 in the morning. I
Yeah.
woke up to these.
I have been dealing with multiple injuries and considerable illness in the last year, and so my training is
Yeah,
going to be ramping back up.
as long as I've
Fuck
known you,
you.
mate. As long as
Yeah.
I've known you, it's been
Yeah.
an ongoing thread, which sucks. No, that's it's cool. But yes, let's talk about fucking Lionel Sanders because he was
Lionel Sanders. Now,
chef's kiss. Mwah.
yeah, mate. I mean, it's got to be the best swim he's ever done. Best
Yeah.
swim performance I've ever seen from that man. Um, it was so cool because when he came out of the water and the commentary was saying, "Well, Linus had a good swim. He's up here already." I was like, "Mate," because Andrew had said, "Look, the poor swimmers like Lionel, Joe, people like that are going to suffer in this race because then they're going to have to work really hard to get up to the front. Even if they can get to the front, then they're going to be cooked when they get there. So you're not going to see the power bikers coming through." Um, but for Lionel to have that such a slim deficit, it's it set the scene nicely because suddenly he was in the game. He wasn't out the game and trying to work his way back into the game. He came out 25th at 138, I think.
I want to introduce a new rule in triathlon, and again, I don't know how we make this happen, but I just want to see Sam Long and Lionel Sanders race constantly. Like, I just want every race that one of them does, the other one's in it, because every time we have those two racing each other, we get these fantastic performances. Like, I still think back to that. In fact, it came up on Instagram this week, the finish in St George when the race before the World Championship where they tested out the course in 2021. Remember, we
Mm.
had Daniel Becker got disqualified, and then you had Sam and Lionel have that like last 2 kilometer finish that came down to the sprint finish. Like, there's been so many great races between those two, and that's what we saw in Oceanside, where it was really the Sam and Lionel show. And Jackson was there, Jackson Laundry, who some of our Canadian listeners love to remind us about. Yes, yes, Sean, I am talking to you. But like, we really do see that those two seem to bring out the best in each other. And I know that they are doing a lot of training together in Tucson, Arizona. But I just want to make it a rule that we have to see Lionel and Sam Long race as often as possible because it's just it's a pleasure to behold, mate. Really, like it just adds so much. And Sam Long has just I talk a lot about highlighting the athletes that make an impact on a race. Every race I've seen Sam Long at this year, he's made an impact. Like, he is an athlete that I guess it's probably due to the nature of the way he races. Every start list is on, you know that there's going to be something. It's not just going to be an individual time trial. Like, those guys at the front who had that swim power know that the Sam Long is coming and it's going to make an impact. So I think of those two in particular.
Yeah, yeah. Agreed. And
Wonderful.
they've got a really nice way of being. That rivalry is fun outside of the race as well. They get on, they understand that they are well suited for a rivalry like this, and it works. Who was it who was first out the water? Magnus Manor was first out the water, followed by Mark Dubrick, and then you had various deficits all down through the field. Um, Lionel Sanders was 25th at 138. Sam Long was 238 down, and Joe Skipper was 340 down. What
Mm.
happened to Joe? What
So
happened to Joe, mate?
I'm sure Joe will talk about this on his own podcast, but I did have some chats with Joe post race. Firstly, really good result for Joe, we think, actually, considering he shit at 70.3. But just got a little bit caught off guard at the swim start, and with 70 plus pros on the start list, got swamped. Like, just wasn't in
Yeah.
a great spot. Got swamped at the start, and said that his heart rate was so elevated from trying to deal with the first few hundred meters of the swim, which was basically an octagon, UFC match. He had to back off because his heart rate was so elevated. He was worried he wasn't going to be able to
Yeah.
finish the swim. So again, lesson learned. I think he's definitely going to pay
Yeah.
a lot more attention to this. It's always something. It's always like Joe has this habit of like build. His Garmin fell off on the bike. Like, it's just always a few things that seem to happen with Joe. So yeah, just a bad swim start, to be honest. But I think
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like, yeah, I say what happened to Joe. 340 out of the water is a bad swim. But on the overall race, he did incredibly well, I think. And finishing where he did against the people that he's going to be racing for this overall series win, I think he's well positioned and can be very pleased after a 70.3 like that.
100%. And that's, I don't think people are going to be surprised to hear that that was always the intention, right? Joe Skipper's a diesel Ironman athlete who has to do two 70.3 events for the Pro Series points. So it's just a case of maximizing the points you can make. possible. So yeah, we were super happy with it. I think the run, he ran just a bit slower than Lionel, ran the same as Sam, outran Patrick Langer. And then the major threat, I mean, I guess we're sort of talking about it now. Braden Curry, who's a few points ahead, but then Patrick Langer's behind him. We don't think that Lionel and Sam are going to be doing the Pro Series. I don't think Mark Dubrick's going to be doing the Pro Series. So yeah, it's a good position. But do you want to go through the results a little, like, because we know we've got Sam and Lionel. Lionel won, Sam two, Jackson Laundry
Yeah,
three.
Lionel Sanders was in first place. Sam Long was in second. Jackson Laundry in third. Yella Gaines in fourth. Maximilian Sperl in fifth. Braden Curry in sixth. Mark Durbrick in seventh. Justin Reel in eighth. Chris Leffman in ninth. And Joe Skipper rounded out the top 10 in 10th. Now, as opposed to the women's event, the points were fairly evenly spread here. There wasn't a huge dip off. So Lionel got his 2,500 with Sam, 2,429, Jackson Laundry 2,382, and then it sort of descends down to the top 10 because there wasn't a huge deficit. It was Lionel had a hell of a race and did really well, but he didn't like completely obliterate people, which is what happened on the women's side. I was just really pleased, mate. I saw him do that swim. I saw him going into T2, and I saw him the way he ran. I mean, he runs like he's got a strange gait, doesn't he? But you can always tell when he's on form. And watching him run out of T2, he had speed, and you could tell he was just going to attack that race. And this 70.3 distance is the kind of distance that suits him to attack like he did. And watching his face as he crossed the line with that sort of really, he was high-fiving people down the finishing line. You don't often see that from Lionel Sanders, really. You could tell this meant a lot to him, and that he's probably had a lot of doubters to prove wrong over the last however long. And he did. He made very good steps in improving them very, very wrong with this win.
Well, on the Lionel thing, because this is something that we've discussed, we did it a lot on our bonus episode just before, but just even offline this week is the thing that I've been quite confused by, and maybe it is that maybe I've just had my head under a rock or head buried in the sand, but the idea that he's back, like Lionel is back, and I don't know whether it is just my own ignorance, but I never thought he left. Like I don't
No,
like yeah, okay, he had some not great performances last year, but I still never thought that Lionel Sanders was done. We saw, especially if you look at
no,
I
no.
think this sport has a short memory, right? Like if you look at the history of Lionel Sanders' career, is he does tend to have these up years and down years where he has the year of success, and it's usually weirdly followed by a year of less success. And I think that's because we see, and again, I have no inside information here, but we see him get to this level of like almost good enough. Like he has, second place and it seems to me at least that it's this, well, I'm not quite good enough, so I need to overhaul things to get to that next level. It doesn't work, and then he goes back to doing what he was doing and goes back to the success. And we know that he's working on his swim a lot this year. His bike and run's always been excellent. Like I just think we're seeing the Lionel Sanders that, like, this is the Lionel Sanders that we're used to seeing. This is who he is. So yeah, I didn't realize that he'd left. I mean, he had that bad call in 70.3 Worlds where he got the centerline penalty. We all know the centerline penalty rule. He chose to forego Ironman racing, particularly last year, which I think is a good call because I think he is exceptional at 70.3. And I just sit here now and just wish we saw him doing some T100 races. I really, really wish we had Lionel Sanders as part of the T100 series because, I mean, looking at this performance, mate, I think he'd be a threat to everyone on that start list at the moment. And it would have just added that extra
Yeah.
element.
Yeah, agreed. I don't think, like you say, an athlete like Lionel Sanders doesn't go away. What he does is he goes and plays with his Rubik's cube for a while and tries to, do different things and try different things. And some of those results haven't paid off. But, 2023 wasn't exactly a shit year for Lionel Sanders.
Mm.
He had 3 second places at the 70.3, one win at the 70.3 in Oregon, a third place in Augusta. Yeah, he DNF'd in the 70.3 World Championship. He came 11th in the PTO US Open and fourth at Ironman 70.3 St. George. So that's not a bad year. It's just not the year that someone with his profile is expected to have. And so, you look at that and you think, right, well, maybe things are starting to dwindle off a little bit. Maybe we're starting to see the end of a career. But that's not who he is. He's got the ability to go up and down and then to pull off a performance like this.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I think it's the start of a good year for him. Like I said, I'm interested to see what happens when he, because the goal is Ironman Hawaii this year, so we're gonna have to see him do an Ironman at some point. We're gonna see how that goes because I just like if I have any doubts about Lionel Sanders, it is at the Ironman distance, and that's not just like he's exceptional, right? He's set some of the fastest Ironmans ever. He's a very good athlete. I'm like I said, I'm interested because he seems to be very, very focused on that. So if this is a race he does when he's focused on Ironman, could be really, really good. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, just we'll wait and see. The other, I mean, there's some other athletes that I think we need to give shout outs to. Jackson Laundry never gets enough love. Uh, another, he's so consistent at this race. We saw him, he's won it in the past. He's podiumed. So a third place, battling with those boys. Really, really good. Sam Long again, after Miami where he ran through for second, this one second. From what I believe, I think he thought one of the other athletes was Yellow Gain, so he was trying to like drop this guy. I can't remember the name of who it was, but it wasn't Yellow Gains, and it just meant that he sort of cooked his legs a little bit, so that he got off the bike and wasn't able to deliver one of his absolute killer runs. But the other fact is, Sam has my Singapore this week. So how deep do you want to dig when you've got another big race a week later? Uh,
Yeah.
is a question too. But Mark Dubrick as well. Mark Dubrick's another athlete. I've met Mark a few times. He's a really nice guy. Super, super strong swimmer. And again, I've seen a lot of people saying that he should be given wildcards for T100 events. So his profile is growing, and that's great. But yeah, that's the men's race was pretty exciting, mate.
Yeah, and Lionel said post race, the game has changed. When I won it here, it was quite a while ago now, and it feels like it was a long time ago. So I've had to work hard at every three discipline to come back here and win however many years later. The competition's amazing now. There's no room for weakness, no room for mental weakness, and I had to fight hard right to the finish. So it's a sweet victory. And yeah, I mean, it is. You could see he was working hard right to the finish, and it was really quite great to see, mate. I uh I wouldn't say that I'm jumping on a Lionel Sanders bandwagon because I don't think I ever really left. I just think these are the kind of victories we want to see from Lionel Sanders. This is what we expect, that battling, that taking it by the scruff of the neck, savagery.
Mm.
And he did that here. He provided.
He's a brawler, mate. He's a street fighter. He's a bare knuckle
Yeah.
street fighter. He's not the the refined perfect technique boxer like a Muhammad Ali or something. He is very much more of a guy you see at the back of a club having bare knuckle fights, beating the shit out of someone. Like he's that sort of rough and gruff. Just gets it done, and he's fucking. I love it. Like I said, I always love seeing him do this thing. So men's race, excellent. However,
Men's race, excellent.
the women's race.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it wasn't excellent because I do like to see a display of class and talent and pure, just being the very best at what you do. Having sat and watched Paris-Roubaix on Sunday, the men's race, and watching Mathieu van der Poel, um,
Do a Taylor Knibb.
do a Taylor Knibb. I get something from that. I really do because I'm just like, wow, we're watching history here. In it might be in the moment, it might not be the best thing you've ever seen. But when the dust has settled in a few years' time, when you look back on these events and you see what these athletes achieved in those moments, you know that you were watching something that really does, stand the test of time, these moments and these attacks. But having said that, the race itself wasn't particularly exciting.
Because she fucking smashed it.
She
Like,
fucking smashed it. She did indeed, yeah.
like so much so that I've seen people, Tim Hemming, for example, coming out saying that this point system with Ironman might be flawed because of a Taylor Nib. Like, I think if your result is so good that it's making people question the actual brand new point system for an annual series, like it's ridiculous. And like again, we need to put her performance in the context of this year. Taylor Knibb is focused on the Olympics, so we assume that this race is a part of getting her ratified to race 70.3 worlds in December, and it also means she's halfway to ratifying her spot for Nice Ironman World Championships. So we might see her do another 70.3 pre-Olympics. But man, like I said, imagine if we see like we talk a lot about the Christian ideal year, win the Olympics, win Kona, win 70.3 awards maybe, but most of those two. But imagine if we had Taylor Knibb this year, like just hypothesize this performance, wins the Olympics or medals at the Olympics, wins the T100 series, wins Nice, wins 70.3 worlds. And again, I know it's
Yeah,
hyperbole,
yeah.
right? But just she is
Look,
the most versatile athlete doing the sport at the moment.
she came out of the swim just behind Fenella Langridge. By 20 kilometers, she put a minute 15 into her. By halfway, she put 3 minutes 15 into her. By T2, it was Finley who was in second place then, and she was more than 10 minutes down.
And
It's
both
it's fucking remarkable, mate.
Paula Finlay is a national TT champion of Canada.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
has gone to world championships representing Canada in time
And
trial.
Fenella's no, she's not a bad biker by a long
10 minutes,
stretch.
mate. 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculous. It's fucking unbelievable. Like she's so good. And there's no weakness, right? She's a front pack swimmer. She can keep up with or swim next to anyone in the women's field in middle distance long course racing. She has the best bike in the sport at the moment, and she's just a solid runner. Like
Yeah, man.
it's
She ran a 1:20:15 run split. She finished ahead of Emma Pallant Brown, who was the second place finisher at that point. Taylor Knibb was a 4:09:55 and Emma Pallant Brown was 4:20:49.
it's
So 11 minutes. And then Paula Finley was in third on 4:21:48, so 12 minutes. Then Emma Pallant was removed, so she beat Paula Finley by 12 minutes. Then Emma Pallant was put back in. We'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, so the final results were Taylor Knibb in first, Emma Pallant Brown in second, Paula Finley in third, Grace Thek in fourth, Daniela Lewis in fifth, Vanilla Langridge in sixth, Kate Curran in seventh, Grace Alexander in eighth, Lisa Bucrans in ninth, and Grutz Frades Laraldi in 10th.
well done for points for effort,
Thank
mate.
you. Thank you very much. But absolutely remarkable racing from, in my opinion, the best female athlete we have in the sport, and very much in the conversation for the best athlete we have in the sport at the moment.
I don't know that I agree with that. I think that there is another athlete that is worthy of that title at the same time as in the conversation. To me at the moment in women's racing, there are two. There are two athletes who stand above all others, and that's Lucy Charles-Barclay. Lucy is the other one that I would put in there, saying that she is also one of the best in the sport at the moment.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, without question, I agree with you. Of
yeah, I know.
course,
I know. I just
she's
have to.
absolutely one of the best in the sport and well up there in that conversation. But I just think that what Taylor is demonstrating and doing, and the deficits that she's doing it by, is fucking amazing. And
What
I'm here for it.
Oh, mate, like I said, I think what Taylor is doing is what Christian did but she's doing it better. Like
Yeah,
Christian,
yeah,
stepped up and started fucking changing the game, right? But Taylor is so dominant and so consistent, mate. Like the thing I love about Christian, right? I think the reason that Christian gives me so much joy to watch is because it's not a sure thing. When he's on, but he also cramps. He also like has, bad swim starts. Like there's an element of, yeah, maybe it's not always a sure thing with Christian. Whereas it's getting to the point with Taylor Knibb where it's like, game over. I mean, not a short course. Short course, I still think she's one of the many, many very good athletes. But anything long, like anything middle distance at the moment, you'd
yeah,
be an
without
idiot
question.
to put your money on
Without question.
anybody but Taylor
And
Knibb.
we talked about the points distribution in the men's being fairly, a shallow fucking hill. This is a vertical drop, man. Taylor Knibb got 2,500. Second place, Emma Pallant Brown, who's now been reinstated and is officially second place, 1,846. And Paula Finley, 1,787. And then it's a steady decline
Do you
down
have
to 10th.
Can you tell me if so she got 1,800 points roughly for second. Which male position got 1,800 points? Can you tell me
I
that?
can tell you. Yeah, I can tell
Because I
you
think
that.
Joe got
It's
1,800 points for 10th.
Yeah, bear with me a
Just to
second.
show that just how again the drop off.
So what was her? So hers was 1:08:46.
Yep,
Closest man to that would be Chris Lefferman in 1:08:23
in ninth.
in ninth. Yeah. So she basically, in terms of deficit points distribution deficit, she beat second place as if they'd finished ninth in the men's race.
And that's the incentive to push, right? Because one of the things like we sort of talked about a little bit, and maybe people have been a bit unhappy or critical or whatever it was about when the PTO ranking system first came out because it was based on time, right? And
Yeah.
it was like this idea of pushing the athletes to keep pushing, not to just, walk the last kilometer. This is what we're seeing. There's an incentive to no matter where you are in your race. I can't remember if you said on this episode of the bonus, but it's the incentive to push the whole way because every second counts. Like literally every second counts in these races now, and that's why I think we're going to see these sort of performances, right? Because there is no longer it's no longer a case of I just do my race. It's a case of you have to react to what your competition is doing because of this point thing, and
Yeah.
it's
Without question. I love it. I love it. I mean, Tim Hemming is the goat of triathlon journalism, and I'm sure he's got some very valid points in there. But I love the fact that if you're in first place, you're racing as hard as you can to the line to maximize
to punish
your
your
benefit.
competitors, to punish them.
Yeah.
Like
And
it's
if you're in second place, no matter how much that fucking elastic has stretched and how much you think I'm never going to catch them, it's worth pushing as hard as you can until the end to limit that loss
yeah.
because that loss is a tangible points loss. I think it's brilliant and I'm here for it.
I think, and as I replied to Tim on Twitter about this, but I think what we're going to see is it's going to probably even out with the Ironman distance because we're not going to see as much dominance in an Ironman unless Taylor's suddenly doing an Ironman race. I don't think we're going to see these huge gaps blow out in the longer races. But as I sort of touched on, Fenella being the obvious Pro Series athlete who's going for this. Uh, the rest of them, I'm not so sure. I don't think. Well, I know Taylor's not going to do it. She's T100 and Olympics. We know Kat Matthews is coming back to do Texas. This was meant to be a race that Kat did, but she's tore her soleus in Miami. Yeah, interesting times, mate. You did talk about the disqualification, and it's probably worth addressing the fact that both Emma Pallant-Brown and Braden Curry were disqualified. Now,
Yeah.
for people who aren't sure of why that is, the Oceanside course goes through a military base in the US. And I can't remember the exact year, but there's a particular descent in the military base where an athlete died let's say 2011. I can't actually remember off the top of my head, but a past version of this race, an athlete died on this descent. So a condition of the race going through this military zone is a DQ zone where you can't exceed a certain speed. And they have a timer mat at the top and they have a timer mat at the bottom. And if at any point throughout the race your time shows that you've gone down that faster than you can under the speed limit, you're automatically disqualified. That's what happened with Braden and with Emma Pallant-Brown. And I know with Emma Pallant-Brown that she was able to show Strava data uh, that showed that she hadn't exceeded that speed, so they reinstated it. I don't know with Braden. I assume it's probably the same thing, but they both got reinstated. So if people were unsure about what that was, that's what it was.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And I was pleased to see her reinstated because I'd picked her for the win. Despite, obviously being an uneducated podcaster, my pick for the win in the women's race came second to the one who absolutely dominated. The only reason I didn't pick the one who dominated was because we don't tend to pick the same races if we can to make it interesting.
Did you
So Andrew had already picked her.
you
So
didn't
I
you didn't think Holly Lawrence was going to win the thing, mate?
I was tempted to pick Holly Lawrence to see her come bursting out of a bush somewhere and sprint across the finish line before everybody, but no, I went with Emma Pallant-Brown, and I was pleased to see her reinstated because I've got a lot of time for her as an athlete, and especially after what happened in T100 Miami, watching her suffer in the heat and have a real moment there. It was good to see her be able to push through on this race and actually get to the finish line and do as well as she did.
Especially after the bike crash. Again, I know
Yeah, yeah, totally.
she had that bike crash and lead up to this. Like Emma's had a rough start to the year, and again, is
Yeah.
such a talented athlete. She's not racing. I don't think she's racing in Singapore. I know that she fucking hates the heat. So, yeah, wonderful to see second. Tamara Jewett, I don't know what happened, but I think would have expected her to have a better performance. I'm not even sure if she
Yeah.
finished, if I'm honest.
She was my third pick on the podium, so there you go.
There you go. So we
Fuck
had
yeah.
Paula Finlay. Again, great to see Paula having some excellent results this year. Taylor Knibb doing a thing, and Emma Pallant Brown.
Yeah, yeah.
But Oceanside, excellent race, mate. I've got to add it to my list. It's an event. Actually, I would love to add it to my list. But did you see how much it costs? Did you see the price of entry for this fucking thing? It's like 500
No.
US dollars or something.
It's interesting with the sorry, yes, that is expensive. Interesting with the distribution of points on the men's and women's. So like it drops off so severely because in 13th place, the 13th place women got 183 points, whereas the 13th place man got 1,710 points. You know, the drop off is dramatic.
Yeah. Didn't they say only 14 women earned points and the rest were too far behind that they couldn't earn a point?
Yeah, basically, she just rode all those people out the race and made it so that you were either right up there or you didn't get any points because she just put it out of reach.
It is funny. And again, we talk about triathlon having a short memory, right? This idea that doing 70.3s and in the lead up to the Olympics is a bad decision or whatever. But there's an athlete who did this famously every time they went into the Olympics, and that was Nicola Spirig. Nicola would always do a couple of 70.3s leading into the Olympics. So it's not a new thing.
No, no,
I think we'll probably
it's
see
a
Taylor do another one, to be honest. I think we
yeah,
might
I
see her
love
do
it.
one
I
more.
love it. Like you say, this was getting her at the start line for the 70.3 worlds, but then also, a 70.3 effort is, it's great training for that Olympic distance effort.
And she's secured a spot too, right? She's automatic. She's qualified for the Olympics, so she
Yeah,
doesn't need to
yeah,
chase
yeah.
points in the WTCS
No,
this
no,
year.
no,
So
exactly. And when she's putting performances like this in, it's, it's not like she was shoulder to shoulder racing, putting herself in a position where she was in control of her own race, you know? It didn't look like she was going to injure herself or she was overreaching. Mate, I've never seen anybody so in control of a race, I don't think.
it's
You know, I
phenomenal.
there was something about it that just it was really high quality and I loved it for that.
Do you think after this Olympics she's all in on? I think this is it. She's going to do Paris, and then she's a middle long distance athlete.
I assume so, but you never know, do you? You never
Mm.
know. When you can still race short course to the quality that she does and still put out performances like this. Is there a necessity to knock the short course on the head? It's not like her 70.3 is
Point.
fucking suffering, is it?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's true. Um, Cool. Oceanside. Excellent. Let's turn our attention to an event that is happening in Singapore this week. The second round of the T100 tour is coming to Asia, Singapore. This was my favorite race last year that I did. And like, again, I think from a location, I think it's probably the best race course I've ever raced on. Uh, Here we are, round two. We had Miami. We've discussed Miami ad nauseum. Put that behind us. Let's get excited about this Miami race. Uh, what have we got, mate? Who's on the start list? What's the immediate changes? Because some things have happened. The curse of the podcast hasn't
Yeah,
struck yet.
it
There's been a few
hasn't, has
last
it?
minute scratchings. So
The start list officially online has Magnus Ditlev on it, but we know that is he out or is he a doubt?
I don't know. I haven't had it confirmed. We've heard rumors that he is out, but it is confirmed that he has a fractured wrist. So
Yeah.
Magnus had a bike crash on Tuesday, I think. So he came down on his wrist and broke his wrist. I mean, like I broke my wrist on a bike crash a few years ago, and I couldn't be doing a race. So
No.
I can't see him. If he does, fucking well done to him. But like I know how painful riding a bike with a broken wrist is. Uh, but he's
Yes. And
there's
not
a serious
it's
doubt.
not only the actual physicality of riding a bike with a broken wrist, is it? It's the inflammation, it's all of the things that you can do to that injury by upping your
Well, what if you crash
intensity,
again?
heart rate. Yeah, what if you crash again? Exactly. Anyway, so men's start list has got Magnus Ditlev on it, but he's a doubt. Sam Long, Yuri Kulin, Alistair Brownlee, Jason West, Daniel Beckergaard, Sam Laidlow, Aaron Royal, Rudy von Berg, Leon Chevier, Ben Canute,
Chevalier, Leon
Chevalier,
Chevalier.
Peter Heinrich,
I love it.
Frederick Funk.
It's my
I
favorite.
can't do it. Clement Mignon, Bradley Weiss, David McNamee, uh, Kappa Stepnik, Kyle Smith, Mika Newt, and Javier Gomez Neuer. And Javier is not racing, and he has been replaced with Josh Amberger.
Correct. Let's get
Yes.
into the men's race and then we'll talk about the women's race.
Okie dokie. So, it's a real shame if Magnus isn't racing because I wanted to see what he did when it comes to backing up that first victory that he's had. I wanted to see if he could carry that form through, which has been over a quite a relatively short period of time into this race and repeat because he's a class act,
Mm.
absolute class act of an athlete. What I wasn't sure about Magnus was over this distance, which is shorter than the Ironman, whether he had that repeatability in him. Do it, achieve, go again. Do it, achieve, go again. And it's a real shame not to see him there.
I think my main interest in watching Magnus on this course is that it, to me at least, isn't a course that suits Magnus Ditlev at all. It isn't
No.
it's a technical, punchy course. Like there's technical parts, there's hilly parts, and like there's steep little climbs as well as some long, like the long grinding climbs. I think suit Magnus super super well. Uh, I don't. I think again. I don't know. Whatever. But I don't think he's the most technical rider out there. And there's some chicanes. There's some quite tight turns.
He'd disagree with you on that, I
I
think.
know. I know he would. He definitely would. But I stand by my opinions on this. Um, so that's why I was curious. Plus the heat factor, right? Like, and I know that Miami was hot, mate. This is going to be a different kind of hot. Like Singapore is. I told the story a lot on this podcast, but me coming off the bike last year, thinking I'm on fucking cloud nine, here we go, and the picture, like literally within one lap of the run, going from being like, this is it, I'm gonna have an excellent performance to like, I hope I can finish this race. Like
Yeah.
Asian heat is something else, and
Yeah, man. Yeah, Miami was hot, but it was hot, hot. But Singapore heat is it gets into you, doesn't it? It's
it's
sort of
different.
it
Yeah.
overrides your entire system. And that's why, Alistair Brownlee will do what Alistair Brownlee does, but I don't see anything different in his future for this race because I see another heat related blow up if he tries to do what he did in Miami.
How long
Um,
do you know if he went? He's been in, I think he's been in Portugal, right? So he hasn't been like he didn't go to Asia or something to prepare for this race.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay. Sam
Um,
Long is the other one, just because Sam did Oceanside, so it means he's had quite a tight turnaround. And I just think again, going from wherever you've been to that Asian heat, like again, look, I'm not a pro athlete. I don't know how good these guys are. I don't know what they're doing, but I've done a lot of races in Asia, and I'll always give myself at least 10 days to try to acclimate. Because it takes a long time to get to the point where you're comfortable, and it still fucking sucks when you're then doing the race. So that was my major concern with Sam Long is just the travel slash not getting there far enough out to actually prepare for the heat. Because I know there are athletes who've been based themselves in Asia for a few weeks for this event to prepare properly. So that's
yeah,
another little interesting thing to consider for Sam Long.
yeah, yeah. I think the heat is going to have such a massive say on this race. Sam Long, though, his performance in Miami was remarkable
Exceptional.
with that run back up through the field. And he seemed to be one of the only athletes on the field of play on that run that wasn't capitulating because of the heat. Magnus was being very consistent.
Hmm.
Sam Long was kind of thriving.
Yeah, it's true. It's a really valid point. Did you say Carl Smith? Did you name Carl Smith on the start list?
Yes.
Phew, okay, because to me, Kyle Smith is the one to watch in this race. And yeah, I really think that like this to me, this race, especially if Magnus is out, I think this race is wide open. To be honest, I think there's unlike other races we've spoken about recently. I think this is one where there's probably five or six athletes that I could see having really incredible performances. Peter Heinrich did so well here last year, finishing on the podium, and nobody ever talks about Peter Heinrich. I think he's one we absolutely need to pay attention to. Daniel Beckergaard is due something. He is such a class athlete, and he's been based down here. He came from Miami to Australia. I don't know if he's been in Asia for long or whatever, but another athlete that he's just, you could tell there's something coming with Daniel. And I know we always like to pick Daniel, but like I feel like there's
I am
something
tempted
coming.
to do it again. I'm tempted to do it again, mate. I am. When it comes to picks time, He's on my short list,
Yuri
but he's not at
Coolin.
the top of my short list.
Yuri Coolin
I
has.
have an athlete I'm going for on
Oh,
this one.
cool. I love to hear. Yuri Coolin is another one where he sort of has forced himself into this series. If he does well here again, I can't see them. I just don't know how you suddenly, if you've had two incredible finishes and you're not a contracted athlete, how do you suddenly go, he's out? Like he's not racing him. Like they're going to have to bring him in. Um, Alistair Brownlee though is one that I do sort of wonder um,
There
if
you go.
we
There it is.
there coffee time. I was close. I was 40 minutes off. Um, I think we could see Alistair do something here. And I know, and again, I can hear the voice in my head. There's like the two
Yeah.
people on my shoulders. One's
Shut up,
going,
dickhead.
one's going,
Like,
pick him,
what are you
Tim.
talking about?
Pick him, Tim. Pick him, Tim. And the other one's going, don't be fucking stupid. You know what
Don't be fucking
happens.
stupid. You've done it again. Jesus Christ. I mean, I'll let you do it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking your keys off you. I'm letting you drive home on this one.
But surely at some
But
point he has to, like Miami, he wasn't quite ready, right? We've had a few extra weeks. He would have run into fitness with Miami.
Jesus,
What's he peaking for? Like
you've
he has.
taken the wrong pill.
Who else?
Get
Who else are athletes you want to look out for in this Miami race?
get out the matrix,
Laidlow, what
mate.
do you expect from Sam?
I expect to see the same sort of thing. I expect to see him being a player, being there, being a name that's on the commentary because he's part of the race, and then I expect to see him fade. I think we'll see exactly the same sort of race from him that we did in Miami, um,
I think
for
this course
various
suits him. I
reasons.
think this course suits him, to be honest. Like as much
Yeah,
as
no,
I,
no, yeah, and I agree with you on that front. I just think he's not there yet, and I think he is an athlete who works in cycles, and I think that his training cycle is off at the moment, and he is he he's either peaking or he's not, and I just think at the moment we're seeing a Sam Laidlow who is not peaking.
okay. Who else? Who else are the other names?
I'm very intrigued to see what David McNamee does. I haven't seen
Good in the
him
heat.
race for ages. Good in the
I mean, he
heat.
raced in Miami.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, he did, didn't he? He just didn't do anything in Miami, did he? Yeah, no, no. I just mean when I say I haven't seen him race for ages, I know he raced in Miami. What I mean is we haven't seen him playing a key part in a race for
Yep.
some time, and I'd really like to see him back at the
And
front.
he's very good in the
Gut,
heat.
very good in the heat. Gutted that Javier Gomez isn't racing
Yeah,
because,
what's up with that? Do we know? Do
well,
we know the reason?
who fucking knows? Probably the pride. I don't know. I don't want to speculate, but
I love to speculate.
you would start with two race cancellations in a row. You'd start to assume he's injured, wouldn't you?
Well, I know he was sick for the first one. Apparently, he was quite sick for the first
Yeah,
race. This one, I don't know, and I don't because he was based in New Zealand. He was based himself in New Zealand. So his wife is from New Zealand, so he spends a lot of time in New Zealand. But yeah, this time I don't know. I genuinely don't know. It's concerning though because again, I am starting like he's 40 years old, 40, 41. Like he's not young anymore.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, man. I desperately want to see Javier back doing his thing, and we just keep missing out. And it's like a gut. You know, I keep thinking that we've had enough of the gut punches in the sport, and then it keeps happening. Uh,
You know who I'm disappointed to not see on the start list?
tell me.
Bogan.
Yeah, he really made me enjoy that. Like he was one of the highlights
Yeah,
for me
yeah.
from that Miami race.
Where's Rico? The
He
animator, mate. I'm gonna start calling him. I
the
loved it.
emoter. He's got so much emotion on his face. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
he said straight away he wasn't like he'd opted out of this one pretty early on.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I know. I just think
yeah,
he was a real plus point and a real positive addition to that previous race. And
Leon Chevalier is another athlete that if his swim isn't
yeah,
too far off, I think we could see really feature here.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, come on, let's get into it then. How do you see the race unfolding? What's going to happen on race day, and who are your picks?
I have one name
Tell
who's
me,
going to win this race, and it's a without question,
tell
and
me.
that is Sam Long is going to win this race, mate.
Interesting. You know what? It's an extremely valid pick, and I would not be surprised if you are right. And I love that you have picked him.
Man is in a rich vein of form
He is,
right
isn't
now.
he?
He's coming off Miami where he ran through the field to get second place. He got second place in Oceanside in a thrilling race. It wasn't a shoulder to shoulder battle, but he was there or thereabouts enough for second place and a solid second place at that. He's going to come into this, and I can just feel this wave of momentum behind him.
I'd put him on
Especially
podium.
now that I know that Ditlev's out, or maybe out. We assume he's out.
Let's
Now that I know
assume
that
he's out.
Ditlev's out, I see Sam being the win for this one.
I am going to disagree with you, which always makes better podcasting. I would put Sam Long on my podium. I just wonder, like I said, the Oceanside, the travel, the heat. How's that going to affect? I don't know. So they're just question marks for me that sort of take me going from, yeah, I think he's got it to, I'm not sure. I see that front group really attacking the swim bike here. Alistair Brownlee, Sam Laidlow, Daniel Beckergaard, Kyle Smith. I think we're going to see a decent group at the front, really. And then the technicality and the elevation on this course, giving them the opportunity to really dig in. Uh, I think Kyle Smith's going to win it, mate. I think Kyle Smith's going to win it. And I think another athlete that we need to really pay attention to that nobody's talking about, I mean, that I know at least, is Mika Newt as well. I think that guy's run is so good, like is so good. I mean, is Jason West on the sorry? Is Jason West on the start list?
Yes.
Haven't even spoken about Jason West. He's going to want redemption after Miami as well, and I think that the Jason West Mika Newt run we could see potentially could be great. Now, I think that we're going to see that group come off the bike together. The Sam Laidlow, Alistair Brownlee, Kyle Smith, Sam will probably be there or thereabouts or getting close. Maybe, I don't know. But I think Ali will probably fade. I
Yeah.
think that we're going to have those guys running through, and I think that we're going to see Laidlow fade as well. And I think Kyle Smith, who dominated Challenge Wanaka, which is an exceptionally difficult, and I mean, he dominated that race. I think Kyle Smith's going to get this one. That's my pick.
Cool, cool. I'm a bit gutted I haven't picked Beckergaard because I do like him,
Well, he's probably going to win now.
and
He's probably going to win
he'd
now, to be
probably
honest.
win now. He'd probably
I'd
win
put him
now.
on the
Yeah,
podium too, actually. I'd put Daniel for a podium,
yeah. That's my thing because now I've picked Sam, which I'm going to stick with. I do now believe that Daniel will probably just win it, just as a
spite you. And
podcast
he'll message
gods.
you and be like, fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, look, I'm very keen for this men's race. There's like I said, I could be way off, right? I'm not an expert. I'm just making picks. But I think this is the best course in the T100 series. So I'm really keen to see how it sort of unfolds. And I think that we have spoken a lot about courses not being good. This is a great course. So get amongst it, guys. Pay attention. It's not going to go the way we're used to these races going because of the added elements that this course brings and the heat and everything. And it's gonna be phenomenal. Like it's such a good event. So I'm keen for this.
Women's
Women's.
start list. Women's start list. We've got India Lee, Lucy Charles-Barclay, Lucy Byram, Hayley Chura, Pamela Oliveira, Kadi Kijova, Ashley Gentle, Chelsea Sodaro, Imogen Simmons, Marjolaine Pierre, Amelia Watkins.
What just happened?
My brain farted. Ellie Salthouse, Jolene McCauley,
Jocelyn.
Anne Reichman, Lottie Wilms, Els Visser, Radka Kartfelt, Rebecca Clark, Lucy Buckingham, and Anna Bergston. Yes, so it's a different kind of start list here, I think. We've got some new names on there. And but I think we're probably going to see a similar names towards the top of the timing sheets, mate, if I'm honest on this one.
Well, let's go through the names that stand out to you. Ashley Gentle making her debut this year.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
the queen of this distance of racing. Who
Truly, truly, truly brings class.
exceptional athlete. Opted out of Miami. Has taken the time to prepare for this event. Uh, yeah, I think Ashley is definitely going to play a huge factor in this event. But then the counterpoint to that is, and it's not to say Ash isn't great, but her swim is her weakness, and you've suddenly got so much swim power in this field, right? Like you've got Lucy, you've got
Other Lucy.
Pamela Oliveira, you've got Lucy Buckingham. Like, yeah, I think we're going to see like I think the race is going to go India Lee. Like we're going to see a very similar style race to Miami where you're going to have that group at the front. It's just going to be a factor of how the people coming from behind influence the race this time. India Lee is going into this race with a lot of eyeballs on her, which I think is probably a really new experience for Indy. Always been an incredible athlete, but like everybody knows who India Lee is now, and there's probably going to be pressure. I don't know where, she's an incredible person. I think that the way she conducts herself is that she's such a friendly, bubbly, positive person. I think she'll be able to handle it quite well, but it is still going to be a new thing for her. So what's that going to do? Lucy Charles, we know can perform in the heat. We know she was a bit off in Miami, and I'm guessing that she's getting closer to peak performance because we know that this T100 series is her focus this year, much like it is for India Lee. So I think those two are going to be really, really dangerous. But Chelsea Sodaro,
Yeah.
mate, like I could not believe, and I don't know how she ran faster than everybody at this race last year. And she's had, she won a race this year. She hadn't won something since Kona. I think she's another athlete that you have to be aware of what she can do to a stylist. And then Lucy Buckingham's another one where I'm just really, really, really uh, keen to see what
Yeah.
she does.
Lucy Buckingham, who, was there or was right there in the swim in Miami, but due to having food poisoning or some sort of gastric issue during the race, had to pull out. I am so interested to see what she can do without that gastric issue, without the food poisoning, whatever was her the problem. Because, she can be shoulder to shoulder with Lucy Charles Barkley at that swim.
She
She
could
can
lead
be a
Lucy Charles out of
player
the
in
swim, mate. She could put Lucy
exactly
under
she
stress in the swim.
yeah, she can be a player in this race from the very start, and she's no slouch on the bike either.
Other factors, Amelia Watkinson is the queen of Asia. You know, Amelia has won more races in Asia than I think anybody. She knows how to perform in these conditions. If she didn't have a bad swim last year, I think she would have podiumed at Singapore last year. The other athlete, Lucy Byram, who we saw really shake things up in Milwaukee last year, has been in Asia preparing for this event. So I think that she's going to be another one that I'm very, very fascinated to see what she does as well. But mate, yeah, it's going to be interesting. So how do you see this going, and who are your picks?
Um, who do I? Hang on a second. I've just completely lost where I am. There I am. Um, I see a very fast swim, and I
Yes.
see a group of athletes coming out together with a bit of distance between the rest. Now the athletes we've named as the top swimmers,
Lucy's
but
going to
it's
struggle
like
on the course, I think, on the bike because it's quite technical.
I
And
was going to say, like you say, it's not a flat out speed fest on the bike. It's a
yep.
technical bike, which will slow things down and will allow the groups to come back together. I think
Or
we'll.
or India Lee is a very good bike rider. Very good bike
She's
rider.
she is indeed. She could do a solo escape, couldn't she? And just like Matthew van der Poel it from
Lucy
and then
Byram also. I mean Lucy Buckingham as well. But like yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how this women's race is going to go. If I'm honest, like I think it's going to be. I mean, sorry, the person we haven't spoke about is Imogen Simmons as well. I can't believe we didn't
yeah,
mention
yeah.
Imo. She podiumed here last year, so Imo's another one that definitely. But sorry, continue,
India Lee for the win, mate.
mate. It's a history would say
India
you're
Lee for
correct.
India Lee for the win. She's someone who I have picked for many a win in my time. I was very disappointed in myself for not picking her in Miami because I was so close to picking her. And I'm going to give her that pick that I should have given her in Miami now as a tribute to how much of a quality athlete I think she is.
Did you say Daniela Reeve? Is Danny racing?
No.
Interesting. Okay, so I can't pick India Lee. Do I want to pick? I mean, my first instinct is to pick Ashley Gentle because of the way she races. I think I'm going to go Ashley Gentle, but I'm going to go top three. I'm going to go Ashley Gentle, Chelsea Sodaro, and just to counterpick you. Not that I don't think she can, but I'm going to go Lucy Charles Barclay. That's going to be my top three.
All right. Well, you want a three from me then. India Lee in first place, Lucy Buckingham in
Oh, it's a good
second,
pick. It's a good pick.
and
Has to be
I
Ash.
am, yeah, Ash Gentle in third.
The Ash Gentle Chelsea Sodaro run battle could be something to behold. That could be cool.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see what happens, mate.
I'm excited.
And in terms of just while people are listening, in
Yes.
terms of when to watch, the women's race takes place on Saturday, 13th of April, with the professional women kicking off at 2:15 in the afternoon local time, which is 7:15 in the UK in the morning, 8:15 in Central Europe, and 11:15 on the West Coast on Friday, April 14th. The
What about
men
for an
start
Australian
at
listeners, mate? You're not going to give us the
3:15.
Australian?
Ah, the men start at 3:15 on local time on Sunday. So you've got the women racing on Saturday, the
Really?
men racing on Sunday, which is 8:15 in the UK and 9:15 Central Europe, and quarter past midnight on the West Coast. If yeah, that in preparation is king, but I've only just learnt that.
Yeah,
I
same.
didn't know. I thought it was the same thing. I thought they were all both racing the same day, but no. So we've got that makes actually watching it a lot easier from my
Yeah,
perspective, as
same.
I can get away with a few hours racing on Saturday morning and a few hours racing Sunday morning.
We should also note. I know that the guys in the PTO let us know that they've got a lot of things that they're trying to implement in this race that they didn't in Miami. They've got timing mats at every kilometer on the bike and every 500 meters on the run, I think, to get the splits.
Yeah, they've got a timing mat, 1 kilometer on the bike and 600 meters on the run. So every couple of minutes, which is awesome. Uh, the data for the broadcast is coming from these timing mats via some transformation that's taken as part of the second screen project, along with GPS and Bluetooth. So
And
they're going to be increasing the data on screen as well.
I know they also sent us. There's a what's the website where you get all the stats while you're at the second screen. It's
Yeah,
PTO.stats or something.
they've sent us a link to the website, which I've just accidentally clicked on rather than reading. The leaderboard will be at www.t100triathlon.com/live/.
Cool. So there you go. So that's your second viewing experience. And I know that they've
Yeah.
got some new graphics that they're working with and things like that. So, man, like I said, it's
Yeah,
only it can only go up from
I
Miami.
would highly recommend, if you've got a second screen, having that timing screen open alongside whatever you're watching the race on, because it does really add some context and a little bit of depth to what you're watching.
One of our patrons also started a Talking Triathlon fantasy league as well. So I'll include the
Oh,
link to
really?
that. Yeah, I'll include a link to that in the show notes this week. So if anybody wants to join our fantasy league on the Daily Try, please feel free. Come and have a crack at trying to get the picks in. I got to do that myself. Uh, yeah, I'm keen for this race, and I am also very happy to hear that it's different days of racing. So yeah, it'll be good. The last thing I just want to touch on briefly before we finish up is the Esport World Champs, the aforementioned or previously called Arena Games, is happening this weekend. How are you
Yeah.
feeling about this, mate? How are the
Yeah.
excitement levels for the E Games?
Fair to middly.
You're gonna be tuning in. You're not going to drive to London to watch this live at the Eco
No,
Centre.
no, I probably not. Um, there was talk. There was almost a chance of Andrew doing the E games as a wild card, as a bit of a last minute training session before Ironman Texas, but
They're
that
actually
didn't
going to let him in.
transpire.
The two, man, it's impossible. I tried to get Joe in last year and it was a nightmare. Start lists. I've just gone quickly here. We've got Cassandra Beaugrand, Beth Potter, Marlene Gomez Gogol, Katie Zafiras, Lena Mime. I don't even, that's one of those mice. How do you do the weird bee looking German letter?
I don't know.
I don't
It's
know.
an S, isn't it? It's
Lena
an S.
Meisner, uh,
Yeah.
Tanya Newbert, Olivia Matias, Petra Kurikova, Nora Gmur, and Sarah Guerrero Manso in the women's race. And then in the men's race, we have got Simon Henzelet, Sam Dickinson, Chase McQueen, Hugo Milner, Max Stapley, James Edgar, Jack Willis, Jonathan Brownlee, Vitaly Vorontsov, and Harry Lelou. Who are you expecting to see fire there, mate?
I don't fucking know, mate, if I'm honest.
Max Stapley in the men's
Yeah.
and Cassandra Beaugrand in the women's. There we go.
Yeah, Cassandra Beaugrand, it'd be good to see her. She's got real form at this kind of racing, hasn't she? And she's so good over those shorter distances. Certainly in a year like this, I'd really like to see see her be on form as we cruise towards Paris.
I think Max Stapley's on the verge of a really big year this year. I think he's, yeah. Full disclosure, I work with him, but no, I think Max is going to do quite well here, and he's quite focused on it.
Part-time podcaster.
Part-time podcaster. He's on this.
There you go.
He's probably getting close to beating Christian's record for the most frequent guest we've had on the show. So,
Yeah, he's a good co-host.
co-host. Jimbo, thank you so much, mate. If people want to find out more about Talking Triathlon, tell them where they need to go.
Yeah, if you want to find out more about us, you can jump onto patreon.com/talking triathlon. If you want to follow Tim, is it T14 on Instagram and I'm at bale.james85 on Instagram. Find us across all social networks at Talking Triathlon on Insta and at Talk Triathlon on Twitter. If you join the Patreon group, you get access to all the social benefits. Plus, we'll put you in the WhatsApp group, put you in the Facebook group. Now we've got a Strava group. We've got the Fantasy League going on. So the bells and whistles are growing every week, and the WhatsApp group entertains me no end. I love it.
Well, a good example of the WhatsApp group is the Oceanside race happened like through the middle of the night for me last weekend, and I woke up to there was over 200 messages in that WhatsApp group. So I think before I even followed the race, I followed the race through you guys having the chat in the WhatsApp group. So again, it's probably the most active thing we do during a race is we sort of watch along. So if you guys are interested in that experience, patreon.com/talking triathlon. We'll get you in the WhatsApp group and you can watch along with us, as well as all those other things that supports us, keeps us going. We love it all. Guys, we will be back next week. We'll probably get a guest on next week. Don't know who yet, but we'll get somebody on to talk about probably Singapore. Hopefully we're buzzing, mate. Hopefully we are going. I can't believe we doubted them. They've absolutely nailed it. Here we go. It's exceptional. Good luck, PTO.
There you go. There you go. Oh, and I I just had a response to a message I sent Taylor Knibb at the weekend saying, "Well done on your race in Oceanside." And I said, "You and MVP really dominated last weekend. True class." And she said, "Thanks. Definitely not MVP level, but grateful to get to race and validate for Taupo."
Excellent. Love to see it. All
And
right, mate.
I would argue that it was MVP level.
I'd say it was too, actually.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Cheerio.